So welcome back to How to Ace Your Job Interview. Now, in our previous video, we talked about one of the fatal flaws of interviewees. Today, we're talking about fatal flaw number 2, and that is talking too much in your job interviews. Now, why do you think you would talk too much in job interviews? Is it your nerves? Is it because you're over-prepared and you've got so much information you want to get out? I find that a lot of interviewees, they display this anxiety and they end up talking too much, which can be quite fatal. What do you think, Carsten?
Oh, I absolutely agree, Jane. I can't help but think of an example where I was hiring in Hong Kong, and I had some reasonably good qualified candidates, and one in particular received some very prestigious awards from overseas, and there's no doubt that he was qualified for the position. But he was at the same time possibly a little bit arrogant in his approach to his or self-confidence that came across slightly arrogant.
Overly confident.
Overly confident, yes. And eventually we got sort of, not that we were already discussing a package, but he was asking into what sort of budget would be available, and he essentially said that okay, that would be too little for him, but he could probably do like 2 or 3 days for that sort of range, and whether we would have a deal on that. And I was like, look, we've actually not done interviewing the whole field of candidates, and somebody already coming off as being overly confident and suggesting changes, which wasn't
too soon.
Yeah, it was too soon.
You know what's interesting is that as the candidate, the interviewee, you never bring up money. Don't start talking money unless the interviewer asks you about money, okay? So if you're overly confident, sometimes you can just run off at the mouth and you talk so much that you dig yourself into a big hole, as this candidate did. Did he get the job, Carsten?
No, he didn't.
Didn't get the job. There you go.
Went ahead with another one.
Well, you know, when you prepare for interviews, because you must prepare to do well in interviews, but make sure that when you're at the interview, even though you're nervous, take a deep breath, and then breathe and listen to the question. Usually you talk too much because you haven't listened to the question properly, and you start answering it, and then you think, oh, what was the question again? And then you just keep talking, and then you dig yourself into a deep hole. So please be very careful about that. And don't talk too much in interviews. Use 2 ears. Okay, we've got 2 ears, 1 mouth. And of course, respond to the questions. And then once you've responded sufficiently, stop. Don't keep talking, even if the interviewer is silent. Just stop and you ask them, would you like me to expand on any aspect of that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I hope that that's helpful. Anything else to add, Carsten, to that?
Yeah, definitely. Don't try to fill the void, because chances are that the interviewer is just as nervous about the void, and that they will jump in at some point in time with something else if they want to know more.
Yes, exactly. Okay, and so watch out for our next tip about the 3rd fatal flaw in our next interview.